Hi guys, this is Steve from Pure Quality Domains, and today we want to talk to you about hosting your PBN sites, how to do it, and what the pain-free process is that we currently use. So, hosting tends to bring up a lot of red flags in people's minds. There's a lot of problems and headaches and complications associated with it, along with, micromanagement, and it takes up a lot of time and a lot of energy. So we want to show you how we've optimized this process and how we're doing it now, so that you can get your PBN site set up literally in minutes. So as I mentioned, hosting tends to cause quite a few headaches with people. I know I had quite a few problems with it in the past, and generally it's something that people really don't like doing. It's time consuming and really just far too complicated for something that should be so trivial. So what we're here to do today is to simplify it for you. So really to give you an optimal process. I find that there's really not any good training out there in regards to this. I've looked before in the past, and nobody could really just explain it to me step by step, very simply. So this is what we want to do for you guys today. So the first thing we have to do is understand IPs, right? So we're going to be putting our sites on different IPs, so we need to understand where to actually put them, right? So IPs are split up into, or an IP address is split up into basically 4 sections. So you have the first, which is the A class of the IP, the B class, C class, D class, right? Now a lot of hosts out there, they advertise having unique C class IPs, which means that the A class and the B class are going to be the same, and your C class is going to be different. So if you can imagine this one over here, the 55 would change to 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, whatever. So it's generally all in the same C class. Now that used to be good enough, right? So in the early days of SEO hosting, a lot of people went for C class IPs, and it was perfectly fine. Now the problem is that Google has caught on to this, right? So you can still see that many different companies are still advocating for unique C class IPs. You can see there, front and center when you Google SEO hosting, you get all these multiple C class IPs, right? The thing is though, Google can see these, right? So they can see when there's many different C class IPs all within succession of each other. And what that means is that all these IPs are at the same data center, and Google can go and shut down one data center because all the C class IPs are going to be on it. However, if we go back to our IP slide here, A class IPs, each one of these are on different data centers, right? So A class IPs will have their own dedicated sections in the data centers. So it's a lot more difficult for Google to go around and shut down an entire A class IP. So as I mentioned, this is exactly what you can get with C class IPs. So if ever you go and you look at your IPs, if you have signed up for SEO hosting like that, what you can have easily is a range in succession like this, right? You can have 31 to 35, and let's say other people, with that SEO host could be just before you. They could have 25 to 30. So basically, all Google has to do is say, okay, I'm going to shut down the C class IP range, and then if they've marked that down as an SEO hosting provider, and there you go, you're gone. They can easily just get rid of a C class range. So again, stay away from these. This isn't good enough anymore, right? This used to be good enough, but now Google has caught on to this, and you should not be going for just unique C class IPs. And this is because they're on the same data center, and basically it leaves a footprint for Google to find. Now there's also the option of going to multiple small hosts. So this is what I did in the very beginning, in order to basically diversify my sites. Put them. We always get told put all of your stuff on different hosts. Just go around to all the small hosting companies. But this is really chaotic. I mean, the management of it is just crazy. You've got to keep an entire huge Excel spreadsheet. There's different billing methods to keep track of. I know one of my hosts refused to do. Or one of my small hosts refused to do annual billing, so I had to remember to pay, a $3 invoice every month. The biggest problem for me, though, was server downtime, right? So when you're on so many different hosts, a lot of them have very bad communication, and will not tell you when a server goes down, right? So you could be asking, okay, well, did you not know that your sites were down, right? I mean, one day you might go and look and your site is down. It could have been down for maybe, a month or 2 months. And, you're wondering maybe why some of your rankings have dropped. Well, it could be that one of your, great PBN sites has been, it's been dropped because of server downtime. And, a lot of times, yeah, these small hosting companies, they just have bad communication. They're not going to tell you maybe when they've migrated to a new server, they're using a different IP address, and your sites can be down, and, they're not going to be useful. You're going to be wondering why your rankings have dropped. And also that shows just terrible customer service. I've called into a lot of these small hosts, see what's going on. Just terrible customer service. Some of them have, live chat services that they never monitor. And personally, I've never had much luck in terms of customer service with these guys. And also, a lot of them can have similar server locations. I mean, if you want to diversify your sites worldwide, let's say, or if you want to have, let's say, some in the US, some in Canada, you really don't have that flexibility with small hosts unless you really go searching around a lot. If you really search around for, say, servers that are based out of, I don't know, Australia or Canada or somewhere in Europe. So really, it's a lot of management to do to set these guys up. And even once you have them set up, there could be server downtime, knocking off your sites, and you won't know about it unless you actually type in your URL and find that it's not loading. So basically what we recommend, what we use for all of our personal sites, and also what we recommend for all of our clients, is A-class hosting, right? It's all you need, and essentially you can manage all of your hosting from 1 to 2 providers, because they'll provide multiple A-class IPs that you can put your sites on. And depending on the size of your PBN, you might need more than 1 or 2 providers. I think there's maybe only about 5 providers out there that I know of. But essentially you can manage all of your hosting from these providers, which makes it a lot easier in terms of the management of your sites. You don't have to go logging into a whole bunch of different client areas, right? And also many A-class hosts get their IPs from negotiating with shared hosts. So this means that your sites are on the same IPs as, all the other normal sites out there, which means that you're not being classified as being on SEO hosting. It just seems like you're on many different small hosting plans. So essentially, these A-class providers are doing all the hard work for you by negotiating with these small shared hosts from around the world, right, and getting space on their data centers. So you're able to host your sites around the world basically as if you had signed up for many, many different small shared hosting plans. Now, just some things to watch out for with A-class hosting. You want to see how many add-on domains per IP you're allowed. So personally, I like to be able to put add-on domains on each IP. Of course, you have to do a little bit more management then to make sure that, if you have 5 sites on the same IP, that, you're not using all of those sites to link to one money site. But, it's a very small amount of management that needs to be done for that. You also want to monitor the amount of storage per IP. I know 1 or 2 providers out there that only provide 200 megabyte of storage per IP. Now, if you're wanting to use, if you're wanting to host a money site where you plan to have, a lot of media, some high quality images, high quality videos, this really isn't enough space. So you really need to monitor this and, make sure if you do go with one of these providers that you're only putting up, PBN sites with, minimal content, some text, some images, really nothing that takes up too much storage. Also, you want to make sure about the data center location. So, some hosting providers out there say that they're present worldwide. They've got worldwide data centers, whereas, in reality, they might have 85 in the US, they'll have, 1 in Australia and, 1 in Europe. So you really want to make sure that they have a good spread, assuming that you don't want all of your IPs in the US. Just to make sure that if they do advertise that they have, worldwide IPs, that, it's actually a good amount of IPs that are outside, say, the US and Canada. So like I mentioned, A-class hosting really is a time saver, right? I mean, in my opinion, $1 hosting, the savings that you might make in terms of, signing up for the $1 guys, it's really not worth your time. Really with A-class hosting, you might pay $10 to $15 more per month, which is going to save you many, many migraines. And if you do plan on adding, extra IPs, you want to expand your blog network, put on some add-on domains onto an IP, this really is a breeze, and you can do it, very easily. So expanding your network, your blog network, is very, very easy to do. All right, so safety is something that a lot of people worry about with their hosting, and really there's some very simple things that you have to do. Nothing too complicated, and I'm going to tell you about these right now, and it's very quick to do these. All right. So whenever you set up a site and you got your cPanel installed, you're just going to want to change your cPanel contact information. So this is in the first row here, preferences. When you log into your cPanel, click on update contact info, and you can put in literally any email address you want here. It doesn't have to be an email address that you've even created. So you can see here for this site that I have, I put it at someone@gmail.com, and there's a nice little green check mark there saying that it accepted it. So you don't have to put this to any email that you've created. I mean, if you want, you can buy some email address from Fiverr or whatnot. But really, I mean, all the communication that would come through your hosting provider should go to your main email address that you sign up with, and you really don't have to worry about this email address over here. So personally, what I do is I change this contact info for each site. Now, there's also the SOA record. So the SOA record, basically your email address is going to be attached to this when you sign up for your hosting, and it's called the Start of Authority record. It's basically something that all websites have, and it's just basically when you start using this website, it'll associate your email address with it. Now, you're going to want to change this within WHM if you have access to WHM. I personally do not with my hosting, which is the way that I prefer it. I don't want to be messing around in WHM. And you would do that under Edit DNS Zone, and you would basically just change your SOA record email. What I do is I literally just email my A-class hosting provider, and I tell them, hey man, I just signed up for 50 sites. I want to change the SOA record on each one of them. Please use one of these at random. info@thedomain.com, admin@thedomain.com, mail@thedomain.com. I mean, you can figure out a whole bunch of other generic ones, but that's basically what I do. Whenever I sign up for new hosting, I just email him right away. I say, hey, just change it over, and there you go. I don't have to worry about logging into my WHM and doing it all manually. I leave it up to the customer support. And basically, this is how you would do it within your WHM if you do use WHM. So here I'm under the DNS zone, and here I've just highlighted where you'd want to change your email address. So usually your email address that you would have signed up with would be within those boxes there. You would just want to change that. But again, I would suggest really just go with A-class hosting so that all of your sites can be managed through one customer support line. You don't have to go to all your different small hosts. Just email the guy, tell him, okay, just change all of them over. There you go, done. Then there's WHOis protection. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. However, if you want it for free, if you want free WHOis protection, I would suggest going through Namecheap or Traffic Planet Hosting. So both of these guys offer free WHOis protection on your domains. Alternatively, if you want to register through GoDaddy or somebody who does charge for WHOis, you can change your WHOis information. And really, don't be afraid to do this. I mean, I've done this on many different sites, and it's completely normal for people to do this. People don't necessarily want to have their name out there associated with their websites for many different reasons. So don't be afraid to change this. Personally, though, I like to have a mix, just keep things random. Some of my sites are protected with their WHOis, and I change the WHOis on some of them because I think it looks more natural if all the sites linking to a money site don't have the same. They don't all have their WHOis blocked. I think that's a bit unnatural, so I like to have a mix of it. So here are our hosting picks. So I mean, we've been through many different hosts. I've got to tell you, I've wasted a lot of money signing up and then canceling plans. And really, these are the guys that I've ended up with. Now we do have a couple links to these guys underneath the video. I do want to mention the No Name Internet link we have is an affiliate link. So if you guys found this video helpful, please use it. I would really appreciate it. That'd be great. If not, again, just feel free to go through the No Name Internet. Not through the affiliate link. But if it did help you out, that'll be great. But this is not why I'm promoting them. Because we've got an affiliate link with them. These really are the best guys that I've found. They have unlimited add-on domains, so you can really host your whole network on them. Great customer service. The guy in charge, his name's Andy. I think he pretty much runs the whole thing on his own. But you've got like a direct line to him if you want. He's always really responsive. Messages anytime there's server downtime, anything like that. He's got locations worldwide, and you can actually pick where each site will go. I've been with some providers that just give me random data centers from around the world. With No Name Internet, you can actually pick where you want each site. So say if you want, if you have a certain TLD extension that you would like hosted in a certain country, you can do it with these guys. Also, they've got high storage per IP, so you can host multiple, put multiple add-on domains. You don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about if you put a money site on the IP. It's got enough storage for it. Another company that I'm actually using right now is called PAS Hosting. Now, I'm using this only because I have quite a few sites in my network, and No Name Internet did not have enough locations for me to host my entire network on. Also, I just wanted some variety. But honestly, No Name Internet, if you have anything less than 100 site network, it should be all right to handle the whole thing. But PAS Hosting over here, they're slightly cheaper. However, they do have low storage of 200 megabyte per IP. So I actually don't have any of my money sites on PAS Hosting. It's only PBN sites that don't require a lot of storage. And they do not allow add-on domains unless you want to pay a little bit extra. So I would say in its entirety, No Name Internet is probably quite cheap, considering that they allow add-on domains as well, and there's quite a bit of storage. So again, I mean, these are literally the only two guys that I use right now, and it's really sped things up so much because I don't have to deal with 50 different hosting companies, and I've got quite a large network of sites, and I don't need any more than these two providers, and I've had nothing but great results with both of these. So this is just an example of what these guys offer in terms of pricing. So this is from No Name Internet, but you can see it's very simple. Let's say you've got 30 PBNs you want to set up, boom, 30 locations, $60 a month. Very reasonable pricing, especially since you can add on unlimited add-on domains. I mean, I would say I would probably not add more than 4 or 5 add-on domains onto each IP. Just so you're not limiting your IP range that much. But there you go. You've got 150 site network in that case, $60 a month, you're done. That's it. Don't need to do anything else. You can manage it all through one panel. So basically what both of these guys offer is you can log in, you can manage all of your sites from one panel, log into the separate cPanels from one screen. It's great. All right, so guys, just to recap, most importantly, get each of your sites on a different A-class IP. Right? C-class won't do it anymore. There is B-class out there as well, but honestly, I wouldn't chance it. Go for the best that you can. Go for long-term. Spend a couple bucks extra more per month so that you can have peace of mind. All right. Now, you also want different and blocked WHOis. So again, I would suggest having a mix of these two, just to keep things looking more natural. And the safety precautions, don't get too caught up with these. The more you worry, the more time you're going to waste. So just do the ones that I mentioned. So changing your cPanel info, changing the SOA record, and doing the WHOis protection. So guys, all in all, just don't fear hosting. I know there's a lot of stigma associated with it, but hopefully, we've shown you a simple way to do it, and it really all revolves around getting A-class hosting. And your time is really more valuable than wasting it on going to many different hosting providers and having to manage it. You guys have more important things to do than that. So use our process, and hopefully you can get your hosting set up very quickly and painlessly. All right? I'll see you guys later.